Uphold me, O Christ, that I may uphold you. Please be seated. Imagine waking up one morning and finding a box outside your door. It has your name on it and an inscription. The measure of your life lies within. If you open the box, you find a string inside, one that can't be changed or returned or destroyed. You soon learn that the length of the string corresponds to the exact length of your life. It turns out that you're not the only one who's received such a box. Everyone on earth aged 22 or older received a box at the exact same time. What I'm describing is the plot of Nikki Erlich's new novel, The Measure. As you might imagine, division lines quickly appear in society between those who open their box and those who choose not to, between those who have short strings and those whose strings are long. As the characters try to make sense of this new world, a social pecking order quickly emerges. People with short strings find they no longer qualify for some jobs. Relationships between long and short stringers end. And some of those with longer strings assume that they must be better people because they've been given a longer life. They start looking down on those with short strings and think, thank goodness I'm not one of them. Thank goodness I'm one of the winners. In today's gospel reading, we see the Pharisee adopt a similar attitude. As he prays, the Pharisee thanks God he isn't like certain other people, specifically thieves, rogues, adulterers, or even the tax collector praying nearby. After all, unlike them, he is a respected member of society. He's a winner. He does all the things he's supposed to do according to his faith. He prays, check. He fasts, check. He tithes, check. These are all good things, and it is obvious that the Pharisee is a reliable and religious man. But Luke loves to turn the tables in his storytelling, and today is no exception. Yes, the Pharisee does all these good things, but he also demonstrates far less admirable traits. When the Pharisee starts praying, for example, he isn't focused solely on God. He's also noticing the other people around him. He even gives the side eye to the tax collector as someone unworthy of God's love, someone society considers a loser. In doing so, the Pharisee trusts in his own ways, not God's. He, not God, decides what makes a person devout or unfaithful. He, not God, decides what makes a person good or bad. He, not God, decides who merits compassion and who deserves contempt. And just in case it's not obvious which side he's on, he enumerates his many virtues to God. The tax collector, on the other hand, doesn't compare himself to anyone. As he prays, he doesn't make any pretense about how good he is. Instead, he beats his chest, calls himself a sinner, and asks for God's mercy. That's it. Notice how Jesus places the two characters in the story. Both men are near the temple while they pray, but the tax collector is standing farther back. This may be because tax collectors ranked near the bottom of society. They worked for a foreign government, taking money from their own people. But it also shows his humility before God. As he prays, he keeps his head down, not considering himself worthy of looking up toward heaven or even at anyone else there. He acknowledges his own sinfulness rather than thinking about someone else's. He's not trying to show God all the ways he's been good. He's being real about who he is. It's hard to be real about who we are. Society prizes accomplishment and success, not vulnerability and honesty. We see this on social media all the time. We post the good photos on Facebook and Instagram, the ones where the cake is perfectly baked and expertly decorated, not the ones where even icing can't hide the fact that it's lopsided and undercooked. And we sometimes bring this approach to our prayer. Richard Rohr, a Franciscan friar and author, calls this the merit badge system of religion. All accomplishment, achievement, performance, and perfection. Thinking about all the good things we've done makes us feel good about ourselves. We want others to notice we're good people. We want God to notice we're good people. There's a danger in this approach, however. As one biblical scholar notes, our normal reaction is to identify with the tax collector, for we are not proud or hypocritical, as we assume the Pharisee is. But as religious people, we are repeatedly tempted to take the stance not of the tax collector, but of the Pharisee. We do not do the evil things that others do. We serve God and help our neighbors. We attend church and give offerings. It's an easy trap to fall into, because that's the way we are in the world. But remember that Jesus is addressing this story not to the tax collectors, but to the Pharisees. It's the tax collector, not the Pharisee, who goes home exalted and justified. It's the tax collector, not the Pharisee, who doesn't try to explain himself, but instead asks for God's mercy. It's the tax collector, not the Pharisee, who wasn't afraid to get real with God. In just a few minutes, we'll have two opportunities to get real with God. The first is our confession of sin, which we say every Sunday except during Eastertide. We ask God to forgive our actions and inactions. We ask God to strengthen us so we can do better next time. We ask God to restore us to the good He created in us. The other opportunity comes in the Lord's Prayer when we say, "Forgive us our trespasses." In neither of these instances do we try to justify ourselves and our goodness. Like both characters in the story, we fall short. We mess up. We sin. But by being like the tax collector and showing humility to God, being vulnerable to God, and revealing to God who we really are, we trust not in ourselves or in society's opinion, but in God. We say, "I need your help, God. I need your mercy, God." And by getting real with God, that allows us to turn toward Him and begin to make things right. The good news for us is that God doesn't need us to justify how good we've been. God doesn't need the photoshopped version of our life. He knows the real us. He wants us to reveal all of ourselves fully and imperfectly, half-baked cake and all, to Him. God wants this for everyone, no matter where they rank in society. Richard Rohr ends his meditation on today's gospel passage with the following words: Jesus learns this from his Jewish tradition. God always chooses the rejected son, the barren woman, the people enslaved in Egypt or exiled in Babylon. It's not a winner's script in the Bible. It's a loser's script. It's a loser's script where, ironically, everybody wins. Thank goodness, indeed.